and good evening. I'm Melisa Idris. Welcome to Consider This. This is the show where we want you to consider and then reconsider what you know of the news of the day. Tonight we tackle a controversial topic that has divided the medical community: parallel pathway programs for specialist training. Now, recently the government announced plans to amend the Medical Act to accommodate parallel pathway programs for specialist training, coming in the wake of a judicial review filed by 4 cardiothoracic surgeons challenging the Malaysian Medical Council's decision to reject their registration to be listed on the National Specialist Register. Now, this was because MMC did not recognise the qualification of that the surgeons had obtained from the Fellowship of Royal College of Surgeons in Edinburgh in cardiothoracic surgery. Now, we're not going to be discussing the judicial review tonight, pending legal proceedings, but the questions that we would like to consider on the show is whether parallel pathway training is a necessary solution to our specialist shortage, or does it compromise the quality of medical education and patient care? Joining me on the show to explore both sides of this argument is Dr. Dayang Anita Abdul Aziz, Senior Consultant Paediatric Surgeon, and Dr. Timothy Cheng, Orthopaedic Surgeon at the Duchess of Kent Sandakan Hospital in Sabah. Welcome, both of you, to the show. Thank you for your openness in being here to discuss this issue. It's a complicated one, particularly for those who are outside of the medical fraternity, who are not in the medical profession. Yes. Maybe I could start with you, Dr. Dayang. Yes. Can you help set a little bit of context? What is it that our audience needs to know about the current conundrum with the parallel pathway?
Right. Thank you, Melisa. Thank you for having me. Essentially, we are talking about entrance into the specialist register, which is a register that is part of the amendment of the Medical Act in 2012. Medical Act 1971 was amended in 2012, for which MQA, the act that controls the accreditation and recognition, relegates its power to the profession for the purpose of registering specialists. Yeah. So what it relegates is that the power to accredit and recognize programs so that the qualification can be used by the specialist to apply to enter into the National Specialist Register, which is formally endorsed on the 1st of July 2017. So you can see between 2012 to 2017, there's a 5-year gap where we need to make sure that the qualification, the recognized qualification, and we call it recognized qualification, the administrative list for the NSR must come from an accredited program. What is accreditation? Is looking at the program. No provider of the program should offer the program to any candidate without having done the provisional accreditation. Okay? So the Malaysian Medical Council must be told, and medical MMC doesn't go to the provider to ask for accreditation and recognition. The provider must ask to be accredited, and then the qualification be recognized. Okay? So what is happening from the time of the amendment, and before that even, the local training program, which is based by in the university following the Singapore system, yeah. So there are all 8 IPTAs or public universities plus a few from the private universities. We form National Conjoint Committee of each specialty, and the experts in the field from Ministry of Health they are also part of the National Conjoint Committee of each specialty.
Okay. Because
we want to standardize the quality of specialists before they apply to enter the NSR, the National Specialist Register, the amendment has brought so much good to the training program. Even at the present time, to enter the training program locally, we have the MEDEX.
Right. Okay.
So they are screened. And then after that, regardless of where the candidates are enrolled in any university, they follow the same program, exit exam also the same, with experts from Ministry of Health as part of the examiners. External universities send their professors to verify the standard at at the end of the program.
Okay.
Okay, so we can tell the public that, you know, the specialists from the local programs, from whichever the high rank to the baby ones, if they pass the specialist training program locally, they have reached that standard.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, Dr. Tim, would you consider that a fair assessment? How would you describe what is happening currently? What is at the heart, the crux of the matter today?
Hi, Melisa. Thank you for having me. I think it's a very good question. Now, we all agree that Malaysia needs more medical specialists. We currently have about 9,000 based on data from KKM last year. We need to hit about 17,000, 20,000 by the year 2030. So to reach that, you can see we're going to need a few thousand specialists a year. And we also need to understand that the history of the Royal Colleges dates back from the 1800s. And the history of the local masters program started in the 1970s. And that was actually based on a lot of Royal College, well, mainly the Royal College programs. And yes, it's a very good thing that NSR registration has happened. But we also need to understand that prior to the amendment, and even with the amendment, there is clear recognition of both the master's program and the para pathways. And it says that doctors that come back, whether from overseas or from local masters, with certain qualifications, you send your application to the MMC, you get it recognized, and you're a specialist. I think the crux of the matter now is because some of these previously recognized list of qualifications, and if you look at archives from 2014 on the NSR website, you actually see the FRCS cardiothoracic listed there. And in 2021, so this is after the amendment, the MMC came up with a statement. So this is by Tan Sri Hisham, our ex-DG, and also the President, stating that these programs, after due processes by the Council, does not need to go through the MQA. So I think the crux now is, the questions are, why are we suddenly not recognizing or have doubts towards these pathways which were already recognized? And the good thing, or the solution forward would be after this amendment, and hopefully this amendment which will come to pass soon will strengthen the recognition of the para pathway and the local masters. Now, the local masters has also a small issue in where some of the trainees, or a lot of the trainees, do not do all 4 years in the university, but also do training in KKM hospitals. So there's a little bit of tweaking that needs to be done to the Medical Act to specify and to strengthen recognition of both these local masters, para pathway, to ensure that, where the candidate trains, whether it's in a local KKM hospital, whether they come back from overseas, that is recognized, and so that does not leave room for doubt and this mess today.
Dr. Dayang?
I think the confusion, Tim, is your word recognition. Okay, it doesn't matter. Ambassador recognize, you recognize, I recognize, President. In medical education, the recognition we are talking about must follow after proper accreditation. If we had done this, and I think the government is great by giving a huge amount of money to MOH for specialist training. I think that is really commendable.
What do you mean, Dr. Dayang, by proper accreditation?
Okay, you see, if I tell you I'm good, my center is being used, it is word of mouth. You have to agree to it. It's word of mouth, yeah? But in a proper accreditation, there is an independent panel of assessors sent by MMC. Yeah, they nominate the names and is approved by MQA being their secretariat. No conflict of interest, but these are experts in that field. They will come to the people applying to run the program. They look at the head of program, your credibility, your institute facilities, and who are going to teach, where is going to be teach, yeah? Where is it going to be taught. We can have the Ministry of Health centers as part of our training centers because we, as I mentioned, have the National Conjoint Committee. The experts in Ministry of Health has always been part of the training program locally because it's an open system, okay? So, following the accreditation initial, the MQA and MMC, or rather the MMC, will bring the proposal for endorsement by the Joint Technical Committee of MMC, and they will give, MQA will give provisional accreditation to the head of program, to the institution, the higher education provider, to run the program.
That's a very long, drawn-out copy.
Yeah.
It is meant to allow standards, because if you just use word of mouth, let me explain to you. In the case of the any not just the cardiothoracic, this is Malaysian Medical Council, this is GMC, okay?
GMC being the UK General Medical Council.
Okay, so they finish their qualification here through the parallel pathway. So in the university, you have to be accredited program, you get provisional accreditation. After that, first graduate, you full accreditation, and then your program get into the Malaysian Qualification Register, and you apply and so forth. The parallel pathway, they are given leeways. They have been given leeways the last 10 years. Yeah. So once they pass, they got their qualification, they send their qualification application to enter the National Specialist Register. The MMC wants them to be in the NSR, will look at the qualification. So what is happening now, GMC says it is not registrable yet as a specialist. So if we are equal, we are there. If we want to enter as a specialist, GMC says there are portfolio pathway for the international qualification that this candidate brings. You have to do more. Then only you are registrable as a specialist. In that sense, if the home country says you have to do a little bit more, that should mirror in our country. It cannot be they are here when we know in the home country you need a little bit more. Okay? Right. So with that, the problem is, I know some of them, they are very good. They are very good doctors. There's nothing personal about this. Yeah? But if the amendment of the Act has allowed the local training program to strengthen and standardize, anybody that enters the National Specialist Register with an international qualification must meet the home country qualification. So if the home country said, following this, you need a little bit more,
right,
then we are amending so that they jump into that.
So that is your objection to the amendments.
That's right, because there are ways to do it.
Dr. Tim?
Yeah. So let me just correct you a little bit, Dr. Dayang here. So number one, the MMC can certify and does not have to follow home country qualification because they have the powers to assess and decide whether this qualification is recognized. So example, if you come back not from the Royal College but from some obscure country with that qualification, MMC can say no, that country is not recognized and they can reject it. So, and we need to understand in 2014, there was those due processes and cardiothoracic trainees, for example, that come back. There was an MOU signed with the Royal College, with the local association, and recognized by the MMC, and that came into play, and they already recognized. In fact, we have cardiothoracic surgeons now practicing with that same qualification. It is not just a paper degree, there is a 6-year training program. I believe in 2002, the guidelines were there. Hold on, Dr. Yang. Okay, and so that's all in place. And then you also do not forget the press statement in 2021 by the MMC, which stated very clearly that a professional body can accredit and powers have been given to the MMC without needing this local accreditation. So what are your comments on the MMC statement? Because after the 2021 statement, there's been no follow-up statements.
I can tell you the confusion starts from that statement. While MQA relegates the power for accreditation and recognition to MMC, MMC cannot do the reverse. The president of MMC cannot give exemption for accreditation to any program. Okay? President of MMC cannot, minister also cannot. This is to ensure standards. And if you look at the press release in 2021, it says parallel pathway is not needing accreditation because they are just a place to do the examination. Then that's valid. But look at 2024 now, when this commotion started, or rather 2023, suddenly the parallel pathway is telling us, no, we run a full-blown program. It's not just about examination. In that case, you should have applied to become or applied correctly to be accredited before you offer to the candidate, and you have to be going through the proper pathway.
I have to ask you, your objection to the amendment of the Medical Act, if you're objecting to amending that, then what solutions would you propose?
Exactly. Now we want to talk about it. Thank you, Melisa. You know, government spend millions. It is us on the ground to make sure things are done correctly. Okay? And the correct way is, if this is the road that we have created for the training of our specialists through the local program, you have any other parallel road, you must follow the same law. For safe travel, you must wear a seat belt, you must have driving license, you have to watch the speed limit. You cannot have a separate rules. Now, how do we address this problem now? For the graduates of this parallel pathway, we are not denying their quality. Okay, but how do we let them enter? Because we now know there are options of local training programs that they have taken. For example, I take anesthesia. Now, everybody is talking about the cardiothoracic because that is the most popular, right? But I can tell you, why should Cabinet be talking to amend the Act when there's already judicial review, right, of this case?
Right.
So, you want to amend the Act when there's a judicial review, doesn't make sense. It is because there are other graduates from the parallel program that is being affected. So, these are the ones that we must help. The one with the cardiothoracic, they have chosen the path to be going through the legal, So, the way to do it is to map between the existing program. Okay, where are they? So, they are graduates. If they're graduates of parallel pathway, we put them through the same assessment for the local program. And these are high standard national conjoined exam assessment that I'm sure they will pass. And when they pass, not only they get a degree, which on the Malaysian qualification framework is higher than college qualification, is MQF or Malaysian Qualification Framework level 7, PhD being number 8. They have a degree, they can do their post-qualification training, then minimum of 2 years, then they can apply.
Is that?
Yes, it's not automatic to enter the NSR.
You were about to say something.
Yeah, sorry, just want to correct you that actually there's a letter by MQA, not MMC. MQA themselves actually stated that the parallel pathway does not need accreditation, and therefore the statement by MMC.
Is that
and then
2014?
This is 2021.
2021?
Yes. So I just want to say that.
That's not right.
Are you saying that the press statement by the MMC is wrong? And if it is, then should there not be a corrective press statement by the current council?
That's right.
You understand what I mean? So, and
I
then
understand.
in addition to that,
Yes.
you need to understand that this current act we have, under section 14, so under 2.2 says that you either graduate from a specialist training program or any other program deemed fit by the council. So I would like to ask you, what happened to these recognized degrees that were there, and in the migration of, maybe some typo error, how did this list of degrees, certain qualifications, mysteriously disappear from the MMC
It's not
list?
mystery. Thank you. I'm very happy with team. It's not a mystery.
Please clarify, yes.
Okay. Remember, National Specialist Register is endorsed on the 1st of July 2017. The amendment of the Act was 2012. There are regulations. MMC has all the power to remove whatever qualification in the existing administrative, because NSR supposed to register, to keep the list of individuals, not the qualification. Legally, the body that keeps the qualification is the MQR. Okay, but the list that Dr. Tim and many are talking about is the administrative list for the MMC to look at for us in the NSR committee to see whether these qualifications is recognized or not. So if after 2017, they do a clean up and they find that there are programs, or rather there are qualification that has not undergone accreditation prior to recognition, they can remove it. They have to remove it. Otherwise, somebody, I don't know who, can put whatever qualification they want before 2017, and then we are stuck. The law is as such. Why, if we follow the law, the press statement of the president of MMC doesn't matter, because we know what the law says. And because of the Act, if we follow the Act, Melisa, we don't have to worry about individuals saying anything. The ambassador saying this recognized, the politician say, the president says. So actually, the current president of MMC is doing it right. He follows according to the law. Whether you want to question why the president, the former president of MMC did this, this is not the point we are having the discussion now.
Okay.
But there is a fantastic solution to the problem for the benefit of the graduates now.
I wanted to ask Dr. Tim what you thought about the solution that Dr. Dayang proposed. Is it fair to get these international parallel pathway graduates, surgeons essentially, to come back and continue, meeting certain criteria, local standardized criteria?
Yeah, so that's a great question. In 2021, we have what we call the NPMC, so the National Postgraduate Medical Curriculum, and this was meant to unify both the para pathways and the local master's program. Because I think you can ask anyone, and we can agree that the local masters will never be able to produce enough specialists in the next 5 years. It is impossible.
I have a solution for that.
Yeah,
Okay.
so the unification has been done, and therefore you also need to understand that this portfolio pathway spoke overseas is also being implemented here. If you look at internal medicine, pediatrics, they have their own pathway. It's not just a piece of paper, they come back and they're recognized. So this is where strengthening the Medical Act will then help to recognize both pathways. The NPMC eventually then unifies these two pathways, and then we get more specialists. But just to add a statement to this whole MMC president thing, then I think the current president should come forward and make a statement or to clarify things, because
Exactly.
Or are you saying that the 2021 statement does not follow the law? I mean, are you implying that the MMC president at that time was doing something illegal by issuing that statement?
I'm saying that statement is incorrect.
So you are saying it was illegal?
Yes,
the
if you want to
2021
investigate.
I don't think illegal is the term.
Yes,
I think
it's incorrect.
Whether or not
what he wrote.
contravening the
a
act.
press statement is not legally binding.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
press statement is not
true.
legally binding. Exactly. And I understand why the myth, the historical myth about not being able to produce enough specialists from the local master's program. That's not true. The limiting factors was the HLP, Hadiah Latihan Persekutuan, that comes from Ministry of Health. Okay?
Yep.
So, and also there's limited number of NSR registered specialists in the Ministry of Health hospital that can help as trainers to the local program. So if MOH has a significant amount of budget from the government now to give more HLPs to the trainees, by all means do that, but also use the NSR registered specialists from MOH as part of the legal trainer in the local program.
Do
If
we
you
have
don't
enough?
have enough HLP, no, if you don't have enough HLP slots, what happens then? Because we currently only have about 1,000 plus.
No, because there are 600 for parallel pathway.
Yeah,
and
no.
you're doing it differently.
So if we don't have enough, so what is the solution?
Let me tell you, if you take this, give the 600 to the, I understand, there are experts in the Ministry of Health, we should use them as the trainers, okay? And they are good as trainers. I can tell you they are good. But education and postgraduate training is no small matter. You have to be prepared. It is a whole bread and butter of the academic. Okay? So unless the MOH trainers wants to do all this, they are best to be part of the local training program.
This is a complex topic to cover in one show, and we are pressed for time, but we have about a minute and a half left for each of you both. I would like to hear from you from both of you, what your ideal pathway is to make sure that we have enough specialists in the country. Dr. Dayang, you go first.
Yes, I think all the experts in Ministry of Health hospital, please join as a legal trainers in the local program, training program. That helps a lot. Okay, your expertise are needed. The government has given a lot of money. Our job is to do it legally, and at the end of the day, it's not about the individual entering the specialist register, it's about our patient. We have to ensure the standards of our specialists is equal. They must be at the same standard, whichever pathway they take. Thank you.
Dr. Tim.
Okay, so from information from KKM, we have about 9,000 specialists now. We need more than double, 20,000 by 2030. To achieve that, we really need both the pathways to exist. And we also should not discredit training from overseas, especially as this training pathway was the one that gave birth to our current programs. And also one more word to the younger generation out there. If you're watching this and you feel disheartened and discouraged, I plead to you not to quit the service just yet, but to hang on for a few more years and stay and serve the country because Malaysia needs you. Thank you.
Thank you both for shedding light on this important matter. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. That's all we have for you on this episode of Consider This. I'm Melisa Idris signing off for the evening. Thank you so much for watching and good night. It's so nice of you to shake hands.